Blizzard's monetization systems have fundamentally changed what it means to succeed in World of Warcraft. Achievements, progress, and even prestige. Everything can now be bypassed by having a credit card. Today, we're not just asking whether World of Warcraft is pay to win. We're breaking down how Blizzard's decisions have changed the game entirely and why we as players need to talk about it. Let's dive in. In World of Warcraft, winning has always been a little tricky to define. For PvE players, it's clearing a mythic raid or completing a high-end mythic plus key. PvP players might see it as reaching Gladiator or even rank 1, sometimes on multiple classes. And collectors chase rare mounts and pretty transmogs. But Blizzard's refusal to define what winning actually means isn't an accident. It's a strategy. Think about it. If Blizzard came out and said winning is beating mythic raids, it would make it painfully obvious to see how pay-to-win mechanics like boosting or the WoW token undermine that definition. Instead, by keeping winning ambiguous, Blizzard can justify systems that blur the line between skill and spending. It's not just clever, it's a little manipulative. Here's where this ambiguity becomes a real problem. Let's talk about the head of the curve, the achievement for defeating the last boss on heroic difficulty before the release of the next tier. It's something I always enjoyed earning, like a small badge of progress. But thanks to boosting, players can now pay for this achievement without ever stepping foot in the raid before. And because people will always prioritize people with this achievement, I can get passed on by someone who literally bought their way in. Now, Blizzard didn't create boosting outright. They built the systems that allowed it to thrive. They profit every time a player buys a WoW token to fund the boost. So while other people and myself are grinding our way through the raid, someone is effectively paying to skip the line, and Blizzard are cashing in the checks. It's frustrating because it feels my time and effort are worth less in a system that's designed to reward spending rather than skill. The WoW token was first introduced back in 2015 in the Warlords of Draenor expansion. They advertised it as a safe and player-friendly alternative. But let's not sugarcoat what the token really is. It's Blizzard becoming the gold seller. And here's how it works. You buy a token with real money, sell it for gold in-game, and use that gold from anything to raid boost, mythic plus carries, resources, and even rare mounts. At first glance, it seems like a harmless convenience. But when you zoom out, you realize the token isn't just a convenience. It's some sort of a Trojan horse that fundamentally changed the game's economy. Before the token, earning gold was tied directly to in-game activities. You had to farm, trade, or even grind your way to what you needed. The token disrupted that balance, turning gold into a commodity you can simply buy. Blizzard didn't just offer these players a time saver, they created a system where real money could replace in-game effort. No. And they've been profiting from it ever since. Let's be perfectly clear. Blizzard didn't introduce the WoW token to help players. They obviously introduced it to monetize on the grind. The token commodifies progress and devalues the time and effort of players who don't spend money. It's not about combating gold sellers. Hey, they still exist. It's Blizzard taking over this black market and turning it into a revenue stream. Now, boosting is one of the most obvious byproducts of Blizzard's monetization system. On the surface, it's pretty simple. Spend gold, skip the grind, get the reward. But it's more than that. It's a system that benefits Blizzard, buyers, and boosters at the expense of everyone else. And I understand that for many players, offering boosts is a legitimate business. It's one of the most lucrative ways to earn gold in-game, often even outpacing the value of the WoW token itself. Boosters take advantage of players who can't clear mythic raids or run high-end mythic plus keys, selling them shortcuts to achievements and gear. From the buyer's perspective, Blizzard allows it, so why not? They're not interested in the grind. They want the result, and boosting gets them there. But this system has consequences. When achievements like Ahead of the Curve and Mythic Plus scores can be bought, it diminishes their value for players who legitimately earn them. Blizzard could crack down on boosting, but why would they? They benefit from it. Every WoW token purchased to fund the boost lines Blizzard's pockets. It's a self-sustaining cycle. The boosters profit and the buyers benefit, and Blizzard's are taking in their cut. And as long as this cycle remains profitable, it's unlikely to stop. The Race to World First is one of the most exciting World of Warcraft events, showcasing the pinnacle of what WoW players can achieve. Top guilds from around the world are competing against each other to be the first to defeat the last boss of the newest Mythic raid. It's a high-stakes spectacle with sponsorships, massive audiences, and even career opportunities. But let's talk about the cost of the Race to World First. During the Sepulchre of the First Ones in Shadowlands, Team Liquid reportedly spent 723 million gold. That's roughly $93,000 when translated into WoW tokens. The gold went towards gear, consumables, and basically any possible advantage you could have. And once the race is over, these guilds recoup their costs by selling mythic boosts and even rare mounts often sold for millions of gold. What's actually wild is this system trickles down to the average player. The inflated gold economy created by these events affects everyone, making gold, and by extension real money, a central part of progression. And if the ultimate achievement is tied to spending at this level, what does it say about the game as a whole? Compared to other MMOs, World of Warcraft's monetization systems are uniquely exploitative. In Final Fantasy, for example, you can buy mounts and cosmetics, but you can't buy in-game currency directly. And Elder Scrolls Online follows a similar model, focusing on cosmetics and DLCs without letting players skip progression. Now, World of Warcraft, on the other hand, has normalized paying to skip the grind. Blizzard has spent years of pushing the line of what players will tolerate, and the game's legacy gave them the leeway to do it. Players are so invested in World of Warcraft, they will tolerate systems they would reject in other games. This is also called the sunken costs fallacy. So Blizzard have weaponized player loyalty, turning it into a tool for profit. Now, Blizzard isn't just monetizing convenience. They also monetize necessity. To play beyond level 20, you need to pay for a monthly subscription. But to access new content, you need to buy expansion packs, and those come out every 2 years, by the way. If you're short on some gold, go buy a WoW token. And if you want exclusive, beautiful mounts, you can go and head to the in-game shop. Which reminds me, take the Trader's Gilded Brutosaur, for example. At $90. It's the only easily obtainable mount with an auction house and a mailbox. The alternative, the Mighty Caravan Brutosaur, was originally sold for 5 million gold, but now it moved to the black market auction house and it can go up to 10 million gold. So Blizzard has taken features that should be optional and turned them into essential purchases for competitive players. Shows you how far we've gone from the controversy back in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion when they sold a DLC for $5 of armor for a horse. Yeah, we gone pretty far from that. So, is World of Warcraft pay to win? Not exactly, but it's something I think is even worse. It's pay to compete. Blizzard systems don't just offer convenience, they punish players who refuse to pay. Achievements, gear progression, all of that has been tied to a system that values spending over skill. And here's the hard truth. As long as this model is profitable, it's not going away. So my question is, what are we willing to accept as players? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Blizzard's strategy is fair, or has it gone too far? Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.